joining us now is someone very familiar with the Russia-Ukraine conflict, former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, William Taylor. Ambassador, great to have you here. Okay, you've been part of this kind of diplomacy before. You're very experienced in it. First of all, how do these phone calls work between Presidents Trump and Putin? Who's listening in? Is anybody providing notes to either Trump or Putin as they speak?
Probably so, Elizabeth. These are pretty well organized. Both sides, both the Russian side and the American side, will have staff on the line. There'll be interpretation. They'll have to go through some delays in the interpretation. But these are well thought out discussions. And so that will be an opportunity for President Trump to make it very clear to President Putin that President Putin needs to come to the table and agree on a 30-day ceasefire that President Trump has already worked out with President Zelensky.
Do you think Putin's going to do it?
I think President Putin is under some real pressure. Yes, his troops on the battlefield are making some slow, grinding progress at great cost. But his economy is in bad shape. His economy is in bad shape and vulnerable to more sanctions, which President Trump and the whole European Union and the G7 have indicated they're ready to impose on Putin. So, yes, I think President Trump does have leverage over President Putin.
Both President Trump and his envoy, Steve Witkoff, who just met with Putin in Russia, today and over the weekend mentioned power plants as well as the division of land to be discussed on this phone call tomorrow. This is new. Until now, Putin has insisted on taking Ukrainian land, on keeping peacekeepers out, on preventing Ukraine from joining NATO. The power plant issue feels new, does it not?
It does. It does. And as you indicated, that Zaporizhzhia power plant provided a lot of electricity to Ukraine. So one way of interpreting what President Trump said is that this power plant could go back to Ukraine. They haven't said exactly what the discussions were about this power plant or the land, for that matter, the territory. But one logical thing would be for the Zaporizhzhia power plant to be demilitarized, that is, get the troops out of there and turn it back over to the Ukrainians.
Why would Russia want Zaporizhzhia, or do you think it does?
What Russia wants, what President Putin has said over and over, what he wants control of Ukraine. He doesn't care about this particular piece or that particular power plant. He wants control over Ukraine. He wants to put a puppet into Kyiv so he can control all of what Ukraine does. And that's the main thing that President Putin wants, and that's the main thing, of course, that the Ukrainians can't countenance. This is for their existence. They want to exist as a sovereign, democratic European nation with security.
Putin has been insisting there be no European peacekeepers in Ukraine, even on the demilitarization of Ukraine. I'm not even sure how that works. How do you force a country to demilitarize, to dismantle its military? This is something the Europeans and Zelensky have said is a non-starter.
Exactly right. What the Ukrainians want and what the Europeans are ready to provide is a security guarantee in the form of European troops on the ground in Ukraine to be sure that the Russians don't invade again. And yes, of course, President Putin says he doesn't like that. He doesn't have a choice about that, Elizabeth. He's not going to be consulted by the Ukrainians as to whether or not they're going to invite Europeans into their own territory, their sovereign territory, to provide security. So President Putin may not like it, but President Trump has the ability to push him to come to the table and agree on these issues.
It's going to be quite a phone call tomorrow. The world is watching as perhaps this long and bloody conflict may at least come to an end for 30 days. Who knows if any longer than that. Ambassador Taylor, it is always great to talk to you. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.